Hi, I'm Mike Zale, Ogden's town supervisor, back with a 10-Minute Tuesday in this series where we talk about how does the actual town government work and what are the different boards and roles and responsibilities. So we talked a little bit about the town board, but the other boards we have are non-elected boards. So the members are people like you. They're not elected. They show interest and they're appointed by the town board. They're from all walks of life. There's no political affiliation or anything like that. And what they do is really great work. They're the ones that actually decide whether your neighbor can have a fence or whether a certain commercial project goes forward. It's not the town board. It's these other boards. They're pretty important. So today is really talking exclusively about the Zoning Board of Appeals. How does that relate to the town board and so forth? And so if I could break this down, you could stop the video after 1 minute. Here's what the answer is. The town board establishes a set of codes. You cannot operate outside of those codes, except that if you don't like those codes, there are two ways to get around them. Number one, you can petition the town board to actually change the code. Number two, you can go to what's called the Zoning Board of Appeals, and you can appeal to that zoning board and ask them to just sort of, can we skirt the rules a little bit? Is this too big of an ask to go outside the code? The entire job of the Zoning Board of Appeals is to review the code, review a specific ask, and then decide whether or not we're going to allow in this one individual case the opportunity for somebody to go outside the code for whatever it is that they're looking for. So I've got a great story that'll really help shape this. A while back, I had received a letter from a resident. I opened it up, looked at it. It was, handwritten letter. And it had a very interesting request. It said, listen, we want to enjoy the rural nature of this town, and we would really kindly request to have pigs. They said the code doesn't allow it, but we really feel like this is a rural town and we should have pigs. And what was super clever and a little bit sneaky about this is that it was written to me by a fourth grade girl. And so, the parents really put her up to that, which is a little bit, not very kind to sick your fourth grade girl on me, but also I respect it. Super clever, very cute. There's a little picture of a pig on it and everything. Adorable. And so I wrote back and wanted to explain why we have certain codes. There are different spots in the town of Ogden where you are allowed to do different things. You want pigs, you want chicken, you can have that. But you have to be in a certain area of town where that is allowed and acceptable. Is it because we don't want you to have personal freedom? Absolutely not. It's actually to protect everyone else. So here's what I said. I said, you know what? I live in a neighborhood where all of our houses are built on a third of an acre. And I moved into there knowing that it had sewer, it had public water, and it had no chickens or pigs. I knew that going into it. So when I move into a property like that, I expect those things to stay consistent. I don't expect suddenly one of my neighbors to have a huge chicken coop. Simply because I moved to this property for this reason, and I don't want to be around that stuff. You may want to. I don't want that near me. So we set up these codes a long, long time ago. Again, I didn't establish these codes. These have been established for a very long time. But we kind of said you are allowed to do that in these certain areas for that reason. So there's one of a couple ways that can be responded here. First of all, I don't believe that the town board is changing that code anytime soon for the reasons that I mentioned. It's not just about you and what your desires are. It's also trying to protect your neighbors who specifically live in an area where those things aren't allowed. You want your freedom to have those pigs and chickens. Well, your neighbor also wants the freedom of not having that. So what happens is you can petition the Zoning Board of Appeals and say, listen, I know that we only live on 3.5 acres. Well, that's still a lot of acres. And we're going to put the chicken coop on this corner of the property. It's surrounded by woods. It's not even close to the neighbor, whatever it is. And the town will actually send letters to all of your neighbors within a certain amount of feet and say, hey, your neighbor is requesting this. We have a date on the calendar where you can come and you can support your neighbor, or you can say, you know what, respectfully, I moved into this property. I don't really want chickens. I don't really want pigs. And then the Zoning Board of Appeals listens to that and ultimately decides whether or not to give you relief from the code or to uphold the code. So it's really quite a fascinating process that the entire point of the Zoning Board of Appeals is to allow you some relief from the town code. But once the town code is established, that's really the only mechanism that you have in order to get around some of the rules that the town board has established. So kudos to the parents. That was a really dirty trick because it was adorable and cute, and I wanted to just say, fine, have pigs. But I actually don't have authority to do that. I would need the entire board to change the zoning on that. But ultimately, if you change the zoning, if you change the code, you change it for everything and everywhere. Whereas the Zoning Board of Appeals can look at it by an individual case-by-case basis and allow you that exemption, with all the circumstances that they might put onto it. The zoning board could actually come back and say, we will allow it, but it has to be over here and it has to be this size and you have to have, blah, blah, blah. They can come up with certain restrictions that really allow you to have that privilege, but make sure that it doesn't negatively affect your neighbors, which ultimately is the point of all of this, is finding ways to be good neighbors. That's really important to us. I'm sure it's important to you. So that's a little bit about the Zoning Board of Appeals, how it works. And if you do have something that you find out that the code is a little bit restrictive, simply reach out to the building department and you can inquire with them on how they might find relief from a certain aspect of the code. What sort of has the zoning board allowed in the past, and what might be the steps for you to get on one of these zoning board meetings to ask for certain types of relief. I hope that was helpful, and I hope that, to the little girl who is in 4th grade, probably in middle school at this point now, I hope that you found a way to get yourself some pets that that you enjoy, but also that your neighbors enjoy as well. Thank you so much for watching. Next time, we're really going to talk about the planning board and mix in the conservation board as well. Appreciate you taking the time to educate yourself more on local government, and can't wait to talk to you in the very next video. Have a great week. Talk to you soon. Bye-bye.